Hi, this is Logan Garibay, and today we're going to specifically talk about the new Explorer's Guide to Wildemount book. It is the latest Dungeons & Dragons source book, and it really is a setting book. There's this big question about what is a real setting book in 5e. It's been a major issue, right? And I think even on the cover, it refers to it as a source book. It refers to it as an adventure. Dungeons & Dragons had a lot of problems, really, especially in 5th edition, saying this is a setting. It's a whole conversation, but we'll leave that on the side there. So Explorer's Guide to Wildemount is really a setting. That setting is Exandria, and this is Matthew Mercer's world. Okay, so just kind of setting in there. What I want to talk today about specifically is Kryn heritages and Dwendalian heritages, all right? And how this book deals with conflict between heritages. All right, so let's jump into this. All right, so let's do a little bit of... So I'll define my terms. So what are the Dwendalian heritages and what are the Kryn heritages? First of all, the Dwendalian heritages are heritages of the Dwendalian Empire. Heritages that have prospered within the Dwendalian Empire. And there are 3 heritages that have prospered in the Dwendalian Empire. There is... also, another word for heritage is bioform, the biological form of these beings, right? So these heritages are human, elf, dwarf. Those are the Dwendalian, those are heritages that live and have prospered in the Dwendalian Empire. There are other heritages, there are other bioforms that have lived in the Dwendalian Empire, but none of them have been as successful, and none of them have established themselves within the Dwendalian Empire the way humans, elves, and dwarves have. So those 3 heritages are the Dwendalian heritages. All right, let's talk about the Kryn heritages. So first of all, when we say Kryn, I'm actually saying that short for Kryn Dynasty, okay? The Kryn Dynasty is in Xhorhas, okay? That's where, which is an area within Exandria. And within Xhorhas, the reigning heritage are the Drow. The Drow are the reigning heritage in the Kryn Dynasty. So when I say Kryn, I really mean Kryn Dynasty, but I'm just going to say, because I'm going to say it a lot through this video, so I'll just say Kryn heritages. What I mean is the heritages that are most established within Xhorhas, the area that is ruled by the Drow, the ruling heritage of the Kryn Dynasty. By the way, the Kryn Dynasty is ruled by a queen, right? So the Dwendalian Empire has no queen, it only has a king, right? The Kryn Dynasty has a queen, but no king, okay? And all of this is Matthew Mercer's work. It's his world. He has built this from start to finish. He has established this and moved, this whole ball forward. And it's really important, right? And what I want to talk about today is how conflict is handled between the Kryn heritages and the Dwendalian heritages. All right. Oh, let's talk a little bit more about the Kryn heritages. So the reigning heritage in the Kryn Dynasty is the Drow, okay? But that's not all they are, okay? There are far more heritages that have established themselves in the Kryn Dynasty. So what are those heritages? Well, they are tieflings, minotaurs, furbolgs, what are some of turtles live there? Hollow ones live there, right? And essentially, tieflings, it's another really good one, right? Tieflings live there. So all these very unusual heritages, these heritages that are really not established in the Dwendalian Empire. So a peace has come over the Dwendalian Empire where humans, elves, and dwarves live in peace. Now why is this important? Why is it important that in the Dwendalian Empire, in Matthew Mercer's Exandria world, why is it important that the humans, the elves and the dwarves live in peace, right? Well, it's a really big deal because of Loader, right? Dungeons & Dragons is now Came out in 74, so it is 46 years old. Okay, Dungeons and Dragons is 46 years old, right? And when it came out, really, it really systematized Tolkien. So now this is a big deal because this is one of the most robust, most well-formed, and this is really critical, most original and most consistent worlds that has been built for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, okay? Eberron is a 4th edition world brought into 5th edition, but really, Eberron's a little strange because you got cyberpunk, it's really kind of a steampunk setting, which is a little bit off for Dungeons & Dragons, You have all those old traditional settings for Dungeons & Dragons, Faerun and Forgotten Realms, same thing. And then Greyhawk. Greyhawk is just a poorly drawn, is a less detailed Forgotten Realms. And both Forgotten Realms and Greyhawk are arguably incredibly thinly veiled Loader worlds, right? Whereas Exandria is not. Exandria is specifically breaking away from the Loader theme while maintaining the load-bearing pillars, right? So basically, a lot of people would say Dungeons & Dragons isn't Dungeons & Dragons if you don't have humans, elves, and dwarves, these heritages, these classic heritages that have gone back to the beginning of the game, right? But they're saying, hey, we're not going to base this game on, the humans fight with the elves fight with the dwarves, and then basically they ally with each other to defeat the third, right? It's an old tired trope, right? And actually, just to be clear, it was brilliant when Tolkien wrote it, but it's less brilliant in 2020 when that thing came out in 1950, right? It's been around for 70 years, right? So we're ready for something different. And Kryn Dynasty, the Kryn heritages, now we're saying so the whole Exandria book is putting to war the Dwendalian Empire against the Kryn Dynasty. War is breaking out. One thing that's really cool is there's a space in the game called the Menagerie Coast that is run by the Clovis Concord, and the Clovis Concord is there specifically as a weak merchant state, right? They don't want war, and they don't really care who wins between the Dwendalian. They don't want war because war's bad for business, and they don't really have a dog in the fight. They don't support the Kryn Dynasty any more than they support the Dwendalian Empire. To the Menagerie Coast, it's all customers, right? But one thing that's really interesting is because the Menagerie Coast focuses on seafaring and shipping goods and creating goods and selling goods, they don't have strong armies, right? And because merchants aren't, they don't have a central leader. They have a concord, an accordance of allied merchants. They're not as strong as the Dwendalian Empire or the Kryn Dynasty. So when I look at this, when I look at what Mercer has put together, it's really solid. It really preserves all the cool things about Dungeons & Dragons while at the same giving new space for new stories and new conflict, right? So the Kryn heritages, tieflings, drow, furbolgs, hollow ones, turtles, goblins, kobolds, bugbears, these really very different heritages, right? These less established heritages, right? It's arguable that they're not less established, but these other heritages, right? They are now going to war against humans, elves, and dwarves. And that is really different. It just draws a very different line around this, right? Also, the drow have been dramatically changed. The drow used to worship Lolth. Lolth was an evil god, right? An evil goddess. She is in Exandria, in Explorer's Guide to Wildemount. She is declared as an evil goddess, a betrayer god, right? But Matthew Mercer makes it clear that the reason why the Kryn Dynasty is on equal footing from a player character can choose to ally themselves with the Kryn Dynasty, with the Drow, or allies themselves with the Dwendalian Empire, and they're on the same footing. They're both, like, one thing is you can't play an evil character in Dungeons and Dragons from raw, from rules as written. You can't, right? You can't, like, the game is about heroes, and it says this game is structured so you're going to play good alignment and neutral alignments. You cannot start this game playing an evil alignment, right? And so what they're saying is that the Drow are no longer a heritage that have a lot of members of their specific heritage who come from evil alignments. They come from good and neutral alignments, and the reason they do that is they've broken from worship with Lolth, and they now worship specifically these Luxon beacons, which are essentially devices, right? These devices are essentially resurrection devices. This is a dramatic change in Dungeons & Dragons setting history, right? It is making a now setting, a setting that is aware of the current space we live in, right? And less, in my opinion, adrift from where the culture is right now, but at the same time not eschewing everything from the Lord of the Rings background, just pushing off of it, and in many ways pushing away from it, so it can be distinct. This is a very unique, specific problem that Dungeons & Dragons has to deal with. It has to begin to distance itself from Lord of the Rings for its, for many reasons and for many purposes. And the reason why is, one, something's 70 years old. It's time to, get something fresh, right? But you need to do that carefully. And I think Dungeons & Dragons is really doing it. I'm incredibly impressed with the Explorer Guide to Wildemount. I'm really impressed with what Matthew Mercer has done. And I think there's this really interesting delineation between the Kryn heritages and the Dwendalian heritages. And this is a new way to tell stories that contain confrontation, right? And that, that's another thing, is this is saying, hey, and there are games out there who are saying, hey, do we need confrontation in these games? And I think the answer is yes, because right now, like, what's the best game out there that doesn't have confrontation in it? Probably Fiasco. No, Fiasco has a lot of confrontation in it. Fiasco is actually just confrontation gone wrong. But the reality is there is no champion game for, like, what's a great game with no confrontation? Nobody's answered that question yet, right? So you do need to put confrontation in these games. You need to do it in a very careful, well-examined, self-aware way. And I think Matthew Mercer is doing that. And I really think that Exandria, what is put forward in Explorer's Guide to Wildemount, will be the default setting for Dungeons & Dragons 6th edition. And I think it's strong enough to bear the weight of it. All that's my opinion. I'd love to hear your opinion. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.